Hi, this is Jeff with FrostyGarden.com. We wanted to give you a quick little midwinter update and let you know what we've been up to. We had a fantastic solstice and also a great winter holiday, and we're now into the new year, and so we're starting to think about our growing season for 2024, and so we're going to talk a little bit about what you can expect in the upcoming months, and we're just going to give you a little winter update here. We're deep into the depths of winter here, and with January starting here today, we're getting about 4 hours of sunlight every day. At our darkest point, we get about 3 hours and 42 minutes of sunlight on the winter solstice, so we don't have a lot of time for recording videos. But a lot of people do ask us if we do any kind of indoor gardening over the winter, and the simple answer is no. And the reason is that basically the energy costs in order to do that are simply too high, and it's just not worth it to us to actually do any kind of indoor gardening. We do raise our houseplants over the winter, and we try to keep good care of them, but other than that, we're not doing much growing these days. Plus, given that we're generally northerners, we have probably an abnormal level of appreciation for winter, and so we have activities that we spend our time doing over the winter. For example, we enjoy capturing the aurora overnight. We use public use cabins and try to get out a little bit. We do a lot of snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. We just generally enjoy our winters a lot, and so that's primarily what we end up focusing on for the winter. We did want to take a minute here and just give our super deep appreciation for all of the support that you all have given us over our first gardening season here on YouTube. We received about 2,000 subscribers, a little over that, in our first season, which far exceeded our plans. And we're just truly grateful for all the comments and the support and everything that you guys have shown us, because it really does encourage us to continue doing videos and continue doing the kind of things that we're doing here. And that validation is really, really important to us, so thank you from the bottom of our heart for giving us that support, all those comments, and everything that you've done for us. We really do appreciate it. It also occurs to us that we never really properly introduced ourselves. We just kind of hit the YouTube scene with what we were doing and never really told you about what we're all about or who we are or anything like that. So we're going to use this video to kind of correct that and tell you a little bit more about ourselves and what we're trying to do here. So the short backstory is that we moved to the subarctic, specifically Fairbanks, Alaska, back in 2015. We had been practiced cold climate growers growing in Montana prior to that, and as we kind of tried to learn some of the nuances of extreme cold climate gardening, we really didn't find a lot of information out there. There was tons of information on general cold climate gardening, but really nothing out there that specialized in extreme northern cold climate growing. So we decided that as part of our growing process and as we learned how to do it, that we would start to document some of the information that we were learning. So we started the website FrostyGarden.com as kind of initially a blog that we would use in order to document our learning process and the things and practices that we tried to use throughout our northern growing experience. So we generally practice what we would call family scale gardening, and what we mean by that is that we're a little bit beyond your average hobby garden. We're taking this rather seriously, and through a fairly large garden, about 2,000 square feet, we end up producing between about 15 and 20% of our total annual food needs through our gardening practice. And so we're trying to achieve some level of self-sustenance through this process. And we use a number of different gardening techniques. We grow in the ground, or more traditionally, we also use raised beds, and we also grow in a lot of growing containers because that does exceptionally well for us here growing in the subarctic and in cold climates. We also like to use a lot of low-tech automation, and the reason for that is that we basically have full-time jobs, we're very busy, we don't have time to be farming all the time, and so we try to use techniques that reduce the overall labor input that we have with our gardens and try to make it overall much easier for us. So it's generally just my wife and I that are behind everything Frosty Garden that you see out there, whether it be on social media, here on YouTube, or our website. And what I would say is that I generally do a lot of the public-facing stuff, so I'm obviously on the videos, I do a lot of the writing for the website, I also do a lot of the social media posts, but my wife Katie is also very, very involved, and how she is involved, she basically does a lot of the gardening efforts and helps me a lot with that whole process, but she also is very important important for bouncing ideas off of and generally talking about the strategy of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So she's very vital, and we're both passionate growers, and so we are very involved in the growing process, both of us, and we are also involved in the Frosty Garden domain, if you will. So our website, frostygarden.com, has evolved quite significantly since 2015 when we started it. Originally, it was kind of a blog and that kind of format where we would do daily posts and that kind of stuff. And today, it's really evolved into an extreme northern growing mecca of information. And so we have tons of information that we've collected over the years, and it's seriously evolved since 2015. We've also started pursuing social media significantly, and the reason for that is that that's how people are using the internet these days. So they're using YouTube, they're using Facebook, and they're not browsing websites like they used to back in the day, but websites are still really important, and so that's kind of why that's our primary operation with what we're trying to do. Honestly, it took us a good long while to get comfortable with the idea of doing any kind of YouTube videos. There's a lot of effort that goes into it, and it's also an entirely different thing from running general social media as well as just, writing a website. So there's a lot of public exposure and things like that that go into it, and so it just took us a while to get to that concept. But basically, a lot of the folks that do follow us really encouraged us to do it, and so that's why we're doing it today, and we appreciate them continuing to get on us and help us realize that that definitely was part of our future. So it's really because of you guys that we're out here doing this stuff, and we appreciate everything that you guys do for us. So that's a bit more about us, and now we're going to get into what you can expect for 2024. So with it being the new year here just today, we are starting to think about our future gardens. And because we're in an extreme northern climate, we do end up getting started much later than most people do with their gardens. And so generally speaking, we start our garden planning process over January and February. We try to solidify where all of our plants are going to go, how many plants we need to grow, all of that kind of stuff. And then starting in March is when we actually begin growing everything from seed. And so that is kind of what you can expect as far as timelines. We're going to start ramping up here again for the 2024 growing season very soon, but you really won't see any big activity until March. So since one of the things that we do with our gardening effort is grow all of our garden from seed, we are going to put a bit of focus into growing from seed videos here over the next few months. So we're going to be talking about a number of different topics from using a seed schedule and also the equipment and everything that we use for growing from seed. And so you can look forward to a number of videos that are going to be focused entirely on that topic. And then once we get into the actual growing season, we'll shift more into topics that are focused on the actual gardening process and everything that we're doing up here. So that's the overall structure you can expect, and we'll probably start with a few number of videos in the beginning and then start to ramp up to our weekly or bi-weekly release dates that we were able to hit last year. So as far as live streams, we did start doing those last year, and we think we might bring them back. Basically, what we do is our live streaming happens over on our Facebook channel, and the reason that we do that is that it's largely our Alaskan crowd that is over there, and so it's not as generic as we would need to be on, say, a YouTube live stream, and so we probably are going to continue that. We did find last year that basically we only have time for that in the early season, so we'll probably start up with that in and around March, and we might do one in April and then maybe again June. But throughout the growing season, I don't think we'll be able to do any kind of live streams just because we're way too busy, and it's also our viewers are way too busy as well. And so for it to be worth it to us, we're going to do a few in the early season, and again, you can check that out over on our Facebook channel. So, as we mentioned, we're going to be trying to get back to our regular bi-weekly content or so, starting in February and March, and we'll be ramping up throughout that season. We do want to give you an opportunity to try to help shape our content, so if there's anything that is burning on your mind that you really want us to cover, do feel free to put a comment down below, because we really would love to focus these videos primarily on what you're interested in learning about, and less so about what we're interested in telling you. So, if you have any good ideas, we'd love it if you put a comment down below and tell us what you want to see, and that's going to make this a successful thing for both you and us. On the new news front, one of the most exciting things that has happened very recently is the USDA has released new U.S. zone maps for the entire United States. This is generally something that happens every decade or so, and in 2023, the USDA released all new maps for the USDA growing zones. Alaska was a huge beneficiary for that this year, and the real reason behind it is that the resolution of data is much improved over what it's been in the past. And so if you haven't looked at those new USDA zone maps, we would strongly encourage you to do so, because a lot of folks now have much more realistic zone reporting by the USDA than they did previously. In addition, one of the other things that they've now done is they've created state-by-state maps. And so there's a specific zone map for every United States state, and it's much more detailed than the entire United States that you used to see previously. The other thing that they've done is created an address lookup. And so now you can look up your actual address and find out what growing zone that you're in. We used to have to use third-party sources in order to help people find what their growing zone was, and now the USDA is providing that data natively. So these are really great improvements, and we really appreciate all the work that went into them. And if you want more information about it, we've put a comment down in the video description that will tell you more about it. Well, I'm sure that we could say more, but we're going to leave it there. So thanks for tuning in to our 2024 winter update, and we hope that you have an excellent new year and that you have a wonderful growing season here in 2024. We look forward to new videos and seeing you again soon in the coming months, and so I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.